So yeah, welcome. Thank you so much for being here right now. So we're the Live Ops Power Panel. So this is not about Power Panel. This is about Live Ops. But yeah, so I'm going to introduce the people that we have here. Cheers, by the way, everyone. Who's not taking a beer? There's oh yeah. Okay. All right. Cheers. Cheers, everyone. Cheers. Yeah. Cool. And cool, awesome. So yeah, so as I was saying, thank you so much for being here. So we have the pictures of our guys. So first, Andrew. Welcome, Andrew. So Andrew is at Space Ace Game. He's been doing live ops for a bit more than 7 years. So he runs the live ops strategy directly on 8 games, I believe. And he did influence like more than a dozen ones. So a lot of experience coming from Andrew. And then we have Daniel. So on the left over here. So since 2001, he's been in the gaming industry. So been a while. Funcom, IO Interactive, Starbreeze, King, Good Games Studio, and now Cybo Games, Subway Surfers, as you might know. So welcome. Toyd Weideman. So 30 years of making games or participating into the conception all the way to making them. So from the free-to-play space, expert consulting companies for quite a while now. So I would say like 12 years consulting.
10 years.
10 years? Okay, so 10 years. So we're talking about Jagex, Yuga, Nordus, Cipsoft, Cibo Games as well, Ubisoft, Supercell, Takeland, Playraven, Plarium, Jaeger. So who am I missing? So he's been pretty much all over the place, right? And so he's seen a lot, and it's good to have him on the panel. So thank you for being here. And then we have NT Vilponen, yeah, exactly. So CEO of UpCloud, a high-quality performance and cloud computing provider from Finland with data centers all around the world. So he's an entrepreneur by heart, and making sure that providing good services for all the clients and through all different fields of technology. So welcome, thank you for being here. And then we have Paul. Paul from GameSparks, cloud-based development live ops platform for game developers. So he works closely with the customers at GameSparks to make sure that they are successful, bring live ops properly to the mainstream users, so that, yeah, so and passionate again about technology, but the main thing today is about live ops. And as for me, Mark Vell, PlayFab, live ops, been doing that for a while. And building studios for Ubisoft and also for Unity and whatnot. But okay, we're finished with the introduction. It was already too long already. Sorry for that, but I had to do it. So first subjects for today, game trends. So we just passed Christmas. So how was your Christmas? And what did you saw in Christmas this year that was, I would say, different than the other years? Because I did saw a few things on my end, which I have never seen before, either on mobile or on platform consoles and whatnot. And I would like to know if you guys saw something that was, that piqued your interest.
Hello. Yeah, I guess I saw a bit of Facebook Messenger games sort of surprised me towards the end of last year. I was a bit skeptical about the platform when it was first introduced early last year, but I think it's seen tremendous growth. There's some great opportunities there. Given the platform that it's on, it's got a very high social factor, K factor. By nature, it's K factor 1. So they're usually 2-player games, turn-based 2-player games, and so there's great potential there to spread the popularity of the games there. But they're intrinsically different to traditional native apps. There's shorter sessions. They can't be front-loaded with the sort of features that traditional apps have, like heavy shops and live events. So developers are having to take a slightly different approach to how they approach live operations on Facebook Messenger games. So
it's also that now you have ads. You monetize with ads. You don't have any in-app payment, so that's different.
Yeah.
If you want to be promoted, you need to include those ads. Otherwise, Facebook will not show you as much. That's one thing we saw on our hand.
Yeah.
And yeah, cool. Yeah, I agree. Do we think that we will have a European or North American WeChat Just saying.
I think they're in a tricky position because Messenger at the moment is like a kind of a hodgepodge of different things. There's games, there's chat, there's all these things that they've built in. So they'd have to try and figure out how to sort of take some of that away. I think it's overloaded. But I definitely think there's potential to sort of emulate the success that WeChat had in.
What do you think about game trends and whatnot?
Well, let me answer your chat question first, okay?
Sure,
In China, WeChat dominates daily life. Now, if I look at Central Europe, the chat programs are used by entirely different audiences. So Snapchat is a totally different audience than Facebook Messenger is a different audience than than WhatsApp and then Line. You in order to be dominant as WeChat with other services, you need like one dominant service on top. And let's face it, Snapchat, most of us don't get why that works and what for that is. I guess so. Who's using Snapchat here every day?
Raise your hand.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, you're one of them. But you actively post or you're just looking?
I just use it with 2 of my friends. I'm not having.
Okay. Yeah. See, I had to ask my daughter why Snapchat actually is like sexy or working. I don't get that program, but nevertheless, this is
You
like
don't want the
too diversified.
glasses for you? Come on,
I
you
don't know.
look nice.
But in terms of trends, what I saw is that it's not a trend, but I was really happy to see that there were 2 Russian match-3 programs beating the ass of King.com, which is Homescapes and Gardenscapes. I was really happy about that because many of my clients didn't believe you could actually beat Candy Crush, but they did, and I'm just like.
But it's also the mix genre, right?
Yeah, but whatever they did, it basically is a match-3 game with a kind of meta story around it.
Yeah.
But the main trend I saw is that core games are here already. They arrived in the charts, and there were some really good ones as well.
Did you play Lineage? Did you play Lineage?
Which one? Lineage, yeah. I'm level 100 something. Of course I'm there. I played Lineage 2, Revolution. I played Last Day on Earth. I played Arena of Valor. All these kind of core games which are making really good money there. So core is there. And when I talked to my clients 2 years ago that like core will be here really soon, I didn't think it was as soon as they launched. So I'm really happy about that because core is viable now because the audience is large enough. So that's power to game developers.
Andrew, I see you have something to say about trends. Andrew, no? Nothing?
No, during Christmas I was too busy making sure 4 games actually ran when everyone went on vacation, so I didn't look outside the company at all.
Oh yeah, okay, good.
Well, I would say slightly similar to Andrew there, that I kind of make sure my kids don't do anything bad over Christmas. So I have 2 kids, and what I noticed is that they actually start picking up games like really, really early these days. My 5-year-old is leveling up in Minecraft really well, which is pretty amazing. So I'm kind of anticipating what happens when the 2-year-old grows up.
Well, I think I've been seeing a couple of things. One of the most interesting things for us is actually looking at how do we reach the target audiences that we are aiming for. If you're looking at some of the younger demographics, how do you reach them, how do you communicate with them? It's really different, as you mentioned. I think it's influencer campaigns, trying to reach in a different way. Performance marketing is like super difficult way to reach success, and it's a really hard way to kind of gain that critical mass. So I think for us that's something that we really are keeping a keen eye on, because we really want to reach deep into our target audience and communicate with them, right?
And so what is the channels that you use to get them?
I think we're seeing some of the influencer because it's like relatable way to communicate, but also we're seeing a more kind of real events taking place and then showing them that we're real, and creating these kind of, we, for instance, what we've been doing, we made an event in Denmark with real skaters, so we really are there.
Okay, physically
players.
there.
Yeah, physically there.
Oh, that's cool.
I think that's really important. That's something I see more and more of. So we're definitely staying on top of that. So.
And do you have any advice for people that are starting, and in terms of game trends, I should look at it and say, okay, this is going to be easier for this year or next year or something like that?
I think for us, we're starting small because we see that it's it can really become a huge money drain, a money sink if you want to go into those areas. areas, like what are the influencers you want to reach, what kind of communication means do you want to have. So we're probing a couple of different to see the results. I think for us, at least, it's too early to say a little bit what's the most efficient way and what are the trends when it comes to those things. But we think we are reaching our target audience because we know our target audience and the games that we're making and how we communicate with them. So it's hard to give advice. I think looking at what's your core kind of gameplay and how does that really relate to the big part of your users, and how can you really reach them through these kind of activities that they really engage with. So,
for my end, I didn't have my part, but I saw way more multiplayer games than ever. Like, especially on mobile, it's like multiplayer everywhere. And I think it's just going to continue to grow for the years to come. And obviously for live ops, it's super important to bring that community together. So I think that the trend's going to get even like harder and more complicated, especially in channel acquisition and all these things. So we'll talk about that later, actually. So next subject, so you can keep the mic. We'll talk about, teams, yeah. So obviously, like when you are doing live operation, the way you structure your company is not the same as a premium title. So the question is more or less like, how do you organize your internal team or teams and external development so that everything works together at best without having a burnout?
So this is something that I've been through many iterations of. So it's always difficult to avoid burnout when you're working on live games from the perspective of, you're doing the same content mill production every month. You do, as we do, a lot of many different locations. That makes it still exciting for the team. But yeah, you always have this risk of having people just really get a little tired of the same old, same old. I think there's no easy solution. What we do to keep team culture and passion high, I think what we do is we get new people who we hire into the old games. They learn the culture, they refreshen the team, fresh blood into the old functional games, and then we take the expertise from those games into the new ones to just maximize the potential of the new games we're developing. I think games go through phases. You have the production phase, even many phases within production, but once you hit live, you also have different phases when you're live operating a game. So I think it makes sense to just be super aware of that and just switch out team, even leaders in the teams, to keep it fresh, to keep in line with those phases.
Yeah, cool.
It's easy to say that you're getting fresh people into the team, but the problem there is how do you transfer actually knowledge? How do you keep knowledge of this live operations in the team? Specifically, if you have a game which runs for years. I mean, Subway Surfer is now 6 years old, 7 years old. So you're running that for a long, long time. So all the learnings you did, how do you keep that active so that someone new coming in can actually that he doesn't repeat all the mistakes you already did like 2 years ago. The longest live ops game I ever was part of was 7 years old now, still running well and doing better and better. I have a client.
Or 7 years?
Pardon?
17?
Is it 7 years?
Okay.
Yeah, 7, not 17. A client of mine has a game, they run it for 20 years and they had their most successful year last year. So just imagine that. It's a 20-year-old game. They do proper live operations. It's a 70 people company and they had their best year last year. That's how well live operations can work.
So is it because there's more users or because they just monetize better what they have?
No, basically the market is growing, everybody accepts free-to-play and there are new markets arriving, meaning that more and more markets have proper internet, mobile, etc. and all that, right? Yeah. So India just opened up a year and a half ago, so there's a lot of more territories coming. But the one funny side aspect which I wanted to talk to is that one unnamed client of mine, when we developed the game and we went live, asked me when can we have the team back. So they expected the online game to be launched and that's it, and they can have the team back. And I told them, no, that's not how it's going to work. The team has to actually grow. And it took them a long time to actually realize that. And whenever clients ask me, listen, we have 12 people on development, how large will be the team on live ops? And I said, up to twice the size. So that's something many people underestimate what you need. The community managers, the support, the live ops development. There's more and more demands coming in from marketing, from sales, from biz dev, from events all over the world, from all over territory. So there's more and more work coming into it, meaning that you need more people to organize it and actually do it. And that's difficult for some people. Of course, you can scale that team by success. That's the positive side. But don't be surprised that your live ops team is actually twice the size than your dev team.
Andrew, tell me about Space Apes.
At previous companies I worked at, it was similar. Everything would grow after you went live. with Space Ape, we kind of take a very different approach. So once we're live, we tend to shrink a little bit after we go from production to live, just because we aren't making as many features. And then usually about a year in, we try to shed some more people, because at this point, we've kind of identified the key features and we've made them and released them. We should have a year of experience for our live ops content and our cadence and what we need. And usually by then, our relationship with outsourcers for whether it's art, localization, or writing or anything is already established. So by about a year or a year and a half, we actually like to bring the team down drastically. So from maybe 15 people to like 6 or 7. So right now, the game I was just working on, Transformers Earth Wars, we went from 15 and we're going towards 7 at the moment. And I just finished kind of training my live ops replacement. That took 5-6 months. But the way we kind of transfer our knowledge is we just sit next to each other and I'm like, no, yes, no, no, yes. Remember that sheet that was really big and annoying? Yeah, that one. But also over that year, we always take some of our sprint time and then we invest in tools. So after 2 years of working on the game, the tool set is completely different. So I have spreadsheets that literally do like half of what I did when I first joined the game. Yeah. So don't have to do it anymore. So we like to shrink our teams and optimize, especially with tools and automation. And that's the big goal for us is similar, is to get people onto in-dev games. So right now, one of the things we're bragging about is we have 75% of our employees on in-dev games, which is close to 80 people. Okay. So we're about 3 months ago, we were like 45% on in-dev games. So we've been, and all of our games, similar to your 20-year-old game, we've had some of our best years. So can go both ways.
And Paul, you wanted to add something? I'm not sure.
Not really. So I have a bit of an outsider view on it because I don't work directly in a game team, but more across many different game teams.
Did you saw something through all of these teams are working?
I mean, it really depends on the team. It depends on the project. There's no winning formula. It really comes down to, the successful teams that I've seen are certainly ones that have been around for a long time, have been through the process, been through the treadmill, and have sort of refined that over years and years of pain and tears, to be honest. Nothing really more to add.
So what I can say is that obviously there's games that has 150 people working on the title to make sure that it's productive and profitable worldwide or whatnot. But at the same time, you have those small teams that are extremely agile that will be able to handle a lot, but also outsource like translation and all these things and be able to work along. But still, live ops is very dynamic, so it means that things are changing all the time. You have to adjust all the time. So obviously, you have to be someone who's very motivated, but the reward is great. So let's go for the next subject. So game launch. So did you guys had any game launch in the last year? And if so, how did it went? And what did you do wrong? And what did you do good?
Well, we had one. We launched Fastlane. That game does a lot of social influencers. That was kind of our live ops strategy for that game, was to bring in lots of influencers, actually paint them into the game so they got their own NPC, they got their own kind of custom event. But actually, that was kind of our least live opsy game. So we actually kind of just created some templates for events and kind of static formats because the game was more of a single player experience, less multiplayer. It was more about progression and had an offline mode, which of course offered all kinds of issues. If we're doing a live ops event, how does that work with offline mode and hacking and cheating? So we didn't do too much in live ops there. So, I mean, we have stuff in the future that's going to be really intense on live ops, but I can't talk about it yet.
So let's say, how will you make your launch for that without cracking the egg? I don't know.
Well, I can talk about what on Transformers, we were in production. It was coming down to the last minute. I joined the team like 2 months beforehand, and me and my PM, Nick Mansdorf, we just sat down and created like a 3-month live ops plan with events for every weekend. We came up with what kind of loot boxes, what kind of bundles, how we our whole strategy in that 2 months. And so when the game actually launched, we already had a plan of like, okay, every 3 weeks we need this art, every other week we need this text, every 2 weeks, and by 3 months we need this new tech, and then by 6 months we need this new tech. Right. So
that's what I want to hear. So tell me, so how much forward is, for example, your artist, game design in front of the developers that needs to do something or whatever?
Well, with the event features, we were behind. because this planning wasn't very great at that point. So we had to first scrap together, like the first 3 months were a bit scrappy. After that, we got ahead like by a lot. So once we had the feature set built, we built it so it could handle multiple event formats at once. So it's by like 3 months after launch, we had everything built in, and we had probably the whole first year planned out rough. Right now, we have the whole year for Transformers planned. Basically, everything is set, but it's live off, so we know it's going to change. It's just wishful thinking, really.
I have a stupid question. When you lay out a plan for like a year, and how do you handle the ad hoc changes you need to do because the community doesn't like this feature, we have to change that, and this does work really well, we have to add something to that. I mean, this is all stuff coming through data or through player feedback. So you have to shift this into your 1 year plan. I mean, do you have space for that, or you just shift the plan like agile?
Normally, we just shift the plan. We have to have an idea of when we're going to use some content so we can decide when to start making it. And if we don't have that idea, we always end up being last minute, or we have a shortage of content, so there's a risk of like, oh, next month we might not have anything to use. So we just plan it out, and then we just, this is going to change. Everyone, you're aware this is going to change. Every stand-up, this is going to change, and you just keep hammering it home, like, this is going to change, and it just does.
So more or less, it's just like, try it and dive in, right? And if it doesn't work, you just trash it. So I guess for you, it's more or less like channels and communication. And tell me about that. Yeah.
No, it's like I think we also work with a really tight plan.
Okay,
I mean, there's a plan always, right? And then the plan hits the battlefield, and then it has to change, right? So I think for us, an example, Subway Surfers needs to have destinations, many different destinations to arrive at, and why are we doing it a certain order? I mean, does it fit with some events? Does it fit with marketing plans? There's a lot of things that need to be aligned, and so there needs to be a really solid plan. But of course, it needs to be able to change and be agile at the same time. So, yeah, I think, just really supporting what you said there.
I got a question for you. Is Subway Surfers having different pace or gameplay, for example, in Asia versus Europe, or it's the same everywhere?
So. We have a Chinese version of the game that is a little bit different, but the rest of the world has the same experience.
So what's different?
So yeah, there are a couple of things. So the theme, the world, different destinations and stuff like that. Also some things in the working I can't mention right now. There's going to be very, very different. Also feature set of the game. We're going to try something out.
So when you launch it,
because
was
it's a different
changed,
market, right? It's just a different market, and different features appeal to them in a different way. So we really try to be in touch with that. So, but for the Western market, it's very much the same. So yeah.
Good. Next subject. So yeah, let's talk about communities. So obviously, communities plays a big part in live game operation, meaning that you have to gather all the information of what your people are saying about, but also you have the entertainment, and you have to bring content that they like, otherwise they get bored, or at the same time you have to look if they're gonna burn out soon because they have too much to do in the game. So there's a lot of KPIs you have to get, there's a lot of things you have to bring to them so that they can create bonding between each other. So let's talk about that a little bit, and some ideas you have, or some things you want that is proven, or things that you would like to try. I don't know.
Well, the first thing is that I have to actually teach most of my clients that they need certain tools inside the game in order to actually talk to their community. It's very hard on mobile compared to PC. On PC, it's much easier. On mobile, you don't have general channels to reach them, so the channels you have to put in your game yourself. So you have to be able to, the news page which comes up is like default stuff, right? Okay, what's happening? What do we plan? There's a patch coming, or, then there should be some sort of feedback. There should be some sort of in-game mail function where you can mail all your customer base, and you can actually attach items to it you can collect, so you can send out free stuff, freebies to your community, and you give them channel to actually reach out to you, and that's kind of important. And many clients don't have that from the start. They don't see the necessity. Of course, it's work. It seems to be that they don't want to talk to their people playing the game because there's so much work to actually answer and analyze that data which gets back. But this is much more worse than actually pure KPIs. KPIs KPIs just it tells you one side of the medal, right? In order to really understand what the KPIs are telling you, you have to talk to the people playing the game as well. And putting this into your game is really easy. And if you don't put it into your game or don't want to put it into your game yourself, there are services you can easily hire and just plug and play stuff. You can put it in there as well.
Name them.
There are 2 or 3. Google them. I forgot the name. I'm not a big fan of these services. It's just for lazy teams who don't want to do that themselves. But an in-game mail function, how complex can it be? But anyway, this is like the most important thing. And clients always ask me, what kind of social function should be put into the game which is most effective? And I always tell them, depending on the game, if it's an online game, live chat. Live chat service is like the #1 retention thing you can put into your game if your game is an online game. Yeah. The other one, if your game is not an online game, let's say like Subway Surfers, all the new stuff and in-game mail stuff would be really important in order to reach out to your players and actually get the feedback going. That's kind of free advice I can give, and there are many, many more. But just adding chat won't fix retention issues. You have to kind of tie chat to certain game mechanics that it's really nicely working. But that's all things you can learn really fast.
But will you go like the Blizzard way, which is white label chatting, more or less like everything is already written, and you say, okay, that's what I want to say. Because I'm talking Subway Surfers. If you go like, hey, if I kids.
No. Subway Surfers is not an online game per se, right? But if you have a PvP game and you allow chat during the PvP match, that's a no-go.
Yeah.
You should be careful with this. So there are certain rules you have to follow.
What are those rules?
Do I have an hour?
But I mean, like, of course, like we know there's chat filtering and all this, and there's obviously there's a lot that can be shared in the chat, right?
Yeah, but chat filtering doesn't work really well across languages. So when you filter a lot of stuff, suddenly normal words are being filtered out in your language, which is really annoys people. During PvP games, aggression, adrenaline is high, meaning that there are a lot of swear words floating around. But the main cause why you don't put live chat into a PvP game during the match is actually cheating. Because people are, how do you call this, fringe the match? How do you call that?
Spectators?
You talk about griefing?
Yeah, no, not griefing. We both play together, and I just let you know you can win.
Okay,
this kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay, sure. Like they did in the esports.
Yes.
What was it? Was it
yes.
With Riot game, the League of Legends?
Yeah,
so they planned the winner and they split the pot, right?
So non-PvP games, which are online games, is much easier because there's a community you can talk to. So basically, the rule of community is, the first rule is that establish lines of communication both ways, and with that you understand the players much better, and you get also rid of a lot of assumptions you have. Oh, I know that. Oh, my average age is 24, and I say, you're sure? And then they fire a questionnaire to 1 million users. They get like 20,000 feedback, and suddenly they see our average age is actually 42, and they say like, oh fuck, we actually have the wrong influences. We put marketing in the wrong channels and so on. So this is a lot of stuff you gain back in return. The easiest thing you can do is Facebook Connect.
One thing I want to ask you, guys, sort of stepping in here, is because all businesses value communities around them, and while we're not a gaming company per se, but we host gaming companies and their services, and naturally, a community of developers is also valuable to us. But kind of looking at your industry, how do you guys see? What's the biggest value or benefit from your business perspective of having a functioning community around? Is it like learning about the game, iterating based on that, or is it marketing or promoting the game? How do you go about that?
So from our point of view, the real benefit, something like a player community, is just the constant feedback, especially maintaining, it's live ops, so we need to know what they're thinking. We have like 5 different channels they can contact us in. We respond to them in some chats. We respond to them as emails. We respond to them in one way when we do a stream every week to answer some of their questions. But also, as you mentioned, kind of like the developer community, we actually just hosted Games First last week. We had a bunch of people in London there. We had our Supercell partners over there come down, and it was really great. It's actually, walking around, and there's these CEOs that are you're normally really impressed by. You see them in the articles on the news, and they're just chatting with people, being cool. And there's all these devs who have awesome games and cool ideas that want to share it with you. So just walking around, getting to know people, seeing what everyone's thinking and doing. I really like the whole gaming community. I think Finland is especially good at this. They brag a lot about the Helsinki gaming community. I think John, my CEO, he wants to have that here in London as well. And they told a lot of stories about, oh, I used to work at this studio in London, and there was a door, and they wouldn't let us past it. And it's like, that doesn't sound that friendly. So I think I like the open community thing. So far, you can always choose what not to tell people if you've got a secret in your pocket. But if you want to share and be open, then it seems like it just makes things better.
So did you ever bring some whales of Subway Surfers to your studio?
I'll answer that question, but I want to say something else first in relation to what's been mentioned. For us, it's like communities. For us, it's what's the value add? Like we have a game, you're having a lot of fun playing that game, right? Is that it? You have a chat tool and you talk to the users. For us, it's a little bit old-fashioned, For us, it's like this. We want to see what can we give you, how can we entertain you. That's how we see it, That's the main thing here. Like if it's through a chat, all right, so be it. We try that out. But what's the other thing? How will it materialize in other ways? Mm-hmm. And not limit yourself to how it currently seems to work or how it did half a year ago, right? And that's really important for us. So that's why we're testing all these things out, because we really, really, really want to be a little bit looking into the future, what's going to happen and how we're going to really provide this entertainment.
So what are you testing right now?
Yeah, what I mentioned before, and then some things we really can't talk to you about. But like I give you an example. Yeah. Like for us, Subway Surfer is not just a game, right? We're going into animation, we're going into licensing, we're doing a really huge push.
That's
it's
branding,
right? Yeah. And at Cyber as a company, it's not just going to be one game. It's going to be a dozen of games, right? It's going to be a network of games.
So you go the Rovio way, or?
That's all I'm going to say. So it's not like coming out party here, just giving you a little glimpse into where we're heading. And it's really exciting, and we really believe in that, right? What was the question about whales?
I asked many, right? but more or less, like, no, just continue. It's great. Questions comes afterwards.
Oh, okay. No, but whales in the games, we actually don't look at the whales at all.
Yeah.
I mean, a big portion of our revenues, speaking about whales, comes from ad revenues, right? Mm-hmm. We're really happy about that, because that means we can focus on engagement instead, right? Not pushing, a cent here, a cent there in the game, but really engage the players, make them come back and build on that. So that's really important.
But did you bring them to your office?
We actually did, yeah. Yeah, we did. We had a guy recently who came to our office, and he was amazed. He got to meet the founders, the development team, and it was really an amazing experience. Not only, I mean, of course, the marketing part of, look what we're doing, but the team was so invigorated. There's a fan that really adores the whole IP, the team, and it works both ways, right?
So there's also to come back to your question, you also have inside of the company where sometimes you have moderators and chat moderators of forums and stuff like this, and if your game is very successful, you're gonna have 40, 50, 60 moderators that works for free for you just because they live your game, and then you can just bring them, all of them, one time a year to talk with the real developers and be part of the brand, right, and feel the vibe. And obviously, if you bring the actual payers or people are playing your game with you, it's like, wow, right?
For us, it was rather who engaged the most with our game and bringing them in and kind of seeing, hey, this is what we value. So, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Sorry, I actually, we've invited a couple of players to our office as well, and we invited ones usually who were really influential in the community. So they were the guild leaders, and usually they're organizing a lot of things and managing the line chats and that kind of thing. And it's really interesting because when you see all their feedback and they can be really toxic, and then you meet them in real life and they're just the most delightful person you've ever met. They're really nice, they're kind, they're not yelling at you, not swearing. They understand everything you say, but then one we brought in was really honest. I completely understand, but there's no way I can tell the people in my guild that, because they would feel betrayed by me. And we're like, okay, that's really hard to work with. But it was really beneficial. We had a nice hour-long talk. We learned a ton about how they organize, the things they really want in the game. We turned around, we started building some of those things. Got really good feedback that way. So I'm a big advocate of that. I don't know if I would invite whole large groups, but if you find someone who's influential who can give you really good feedback, that's pretty much invaluable.
Yeah, we should never forget that internet, it's really easy to create a persona, right? To create someone that doesn't exist and, pull that fashion even further away. So, okay, let's continue. So, You want to say something, Toy? Okay, cool. Now we talk about KPIs. So KPIs, obviously, well, there's many of them, right? So some are, we're looking at the session length, some how many sessions a day. Some are looking only about the prediction of the LTV based on channel XYZ. So we all have KPIs that are interesting, but really, what are the 3, 4, 5 KPIs other than DAU, conversion rate, and let's say, yeah, except these two, like which KPI are you looking for?
First, a warning, okay? I did a talk about that. You can Google that in the internet or my YouTube channel. Is that
Nice
when KPIs take over your company and you only listen to KPIs, you will fail. So if you're a purely KPI-driven company, you will be a Zynga. At some point, you know, you're going down the drain. The truth is KPIs only tell you what happens, but not why. So you have to find out why in any other means by asking community, player analysis, asking your dev team or your fans, whatever there is. So be aware that if there's, I hear that so often. There's a publisher who says if your day one is below 40%, we won't even look at your game. I'm like, what? There are games out there who have a lower day one, much lower, but 20%
they have like
that
are very.
They have a day one of 30%, but they have the D365 of like 15. And you're saying something is right in this game, correct? Then there are games who have 70% day one, and if you look at day 30 of them, it's really bad. So KPIs only they only talk to you half of the time. So be aware of this. KPIs are really cool. Second, don't believe KPIs in the internet. You don't know the definition. They don't know if day one's the same as your definition of day one. A lot of stuff you have to compare yourself. So ask other teams, go to developer conferences, ask the team, and compare definitions and the KPIs if you really want to know the truth. Now, many publishers and my clients ask me, what is the most important KPI we have? Just this question annoys me totally, because usually you have 1, 2, or 3 KPIs interacting with each other. There's not just one which is great, right? But as he will confirm, the number one KPI is retention. If you have a really great retention, you can fix everything over time, because you have all the time to actually talk to the players. If your retention is really bad, you have less time. But nevertheless, I have clients who have bad retention games and they're making millions a month, simply because they know how to monetize in the first couple of days. So there is this type of game and the other type of game, but it's easier to fix your stuff if your retention is great.
Hey, Paul, do you look at the KPIs of the games on GameSpark?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So I do the same. So Play for App GameSparks, we have like combined probably like 5,000 games plus that are live with our live ops platform. So, so let me ask you, do you have a game that has 20% day one that is making a lot of money?
Yeah.
Do you have a game that has 60% retention that is making a lot of money, but far down the line?
Yeah, I mean, we have games right across the spectrum.
Exactly.
Different combinations, we really do. And coming from studios where this sort of 40, 20, 10 mentality is sort of driven into what? 2 minutes left?
Oh, come on, no. Look at that.
It's where was I? It's quite enlightening to see across the spectrum and understand that okay, I have 20% day one, but I can make a lot of money within the first few days. So they're covered. They don't need the long tail, and the revenue over time. So it really depends. But I think it's really important to note with retention. It's all well and good looking at your day one retention, but you really need to drill right down into, why do I have 20%? Why do I have 30%? What are the factors that give me this percentage, right? So it's very important to look at the success factors in your game. So looking at different features where players engage and looking at those users and seeing what their retention is. So if you see that some users engage with the metagame and they've got higher day one than users that don't, then maybe you want to double down there and sort of try and bring those players who are not engaged with the metagame into the metagame. And there's all this sort of deep drilling that you need to do to really get to the source of what makes your day one, your day 3, your day whatever successful.
Yeah, I got a question for the crowd. Okay, we have like 5 minutes left. Okay, I'm just taking more minutes at what you show. So we can either talk more about KPIs for 5 minutes or talk about toolings and stuff like that. By raising the hand, who wants to hear more about KPIs than tools? 2, 3. Okay, cool. Let's talk about tools. Sorry for that. Okay, that's better. You need see we can talk about going global, but let's talk right away about tooling. Live events, we skipped that one too. Sorry, we have like so much to say because live ops is huge and no one's speaking about it. But tooling is a vast subject, right? So tooling is extremely important from the back end to the monetization tools and whatnot. So which is the tool as a live operation agent you need, otherwise you die?
Easy answer, I guess. GameSparks? No?
No, except these because we do everything.
Sure.
So it's more for guys.
So we have a bunch of tools, but the one that we rely most on is having every game being able to update live content. So we have a CMS we can push to the game, and it changes a bunch of values. We can turn features on and off. We can change text. We can change content. Without patching, yeah. So it's all stream, and we can also stream in a whole bunch of art assets and things like that. So that's the number one tool. With just that basic tool, we can run all of our games live ops. It's brutally hard, but we can do it. So we always add more on top of it, but that's the main one.
Just saying, like we offer those services, but there's open source services that you can use as well. There's, I think the OpenFaint stuff is still available that will run probably on UpCloud. And there's also Heroic Labs that is making open source services that you could try on your own, but obviously you have to fix it yourself, which is a bit of a problem. Yeah, so continue.
I know for us it's a lot about what you said earlier about reducing the size of the teams. So for us it's efficiency, asset creation tools, content creation tools. That's really important for us, aside from the absolute necessary ones that has to do with customer service and stuff like that. So.
All right. Okay, so that was actually shorter than I thought. So do we have time for one last question? Like quick, 1 minute each? Okay, cool. So where do you think live ops is going in the year to come? So for us, we look a lot about artificial intelligence, how we can let models and neural networks to create content for you, pricing and all these things, to help you out to manage 20 different languages, 20 different cultures and channels and stuff like that. So it can get very optimized. So what are you looking for in the next years to come? AR or whatnot? I don't know.
I think machine learning has a big part to play. Predicting LTV, predicting user churn, identifying users before they churn so that you can actively stop them from leaving the game through targeted push notifications or content or whatever. I think machine learning has a big part to play. Yeah, we're going to see big advancements this year, I think.
Good.
I might be a little bit more drastic. If you start a game now and you don't design the game to be a live operations game for the future, you don't have any chance to enter the top 20 anymore. So you have to do live operations in order to be successful in the future.
Fantastic.
I'm really a big fan of the machine learning, but actually the thing we're looking at with our upcoming games most is actually going back and just designing our live off schedule better. So I've made hundreds and hundreds of events that go once, and in the future I'd like to make it so that if you're a new player, you get to replay those old events, something just kind of going back and scheduling and designing the game to take live offs into consideration better so that I don't have to waste all this glorious content I've made.
Yeah, I'd vouch for machine learning as well. That's something we're seeing, and also testing out with a few clients as well.
So for us, it's we have many initiatives, but for us, it's really important to try to be efficient with the few experts and super skilled people we have. We don't want them to get stuck in operation and churning out content or stuff like that. So for us, it's really about getting a lot of the stuff automated and getting a lot of stuff efficient as possible, so we can move the expertise to other games and other products. So for us, the live ops is not only engaging with the players, the way I mentioned before, in very new ways, but it puts a lot of pressure on the marketing department, but also about being super efficient with the few resources we have, because we're trying to be very small still. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and love ups.